Hey friends, feeling overwhelmed? Stressed by that ever-growing to-do list? Think you just don't have the time to achieve your goals? Hold on. What if the problem isn't your ability, but how you're thinking about what you need to do? Tony Robbins calls it chunking, and it's the key to unlocking a life of fulfillment and achievement. Let's dive in and discover how to finally break free from the overwhelm and start living your time of your life. Stay tuned. Please don't forget to like and subscribe the channel. Step 1. The juggling act of stress. Ever feel like your brain is about to explode from juggling a million tasks? That stress often comes from trying to hold on to too many things at once. Our minds just can't handle it. Imagine a plate spinner trying to keep a dozen plates going. That's what our brains feel like. But what if I told you there's a way to simplify? There is. It's called chunking, and it's the key to unlocking a life of focus and achievement. 2. Chunking for success. Let's face it, we all know exercise is good for us, but how many of us actually make it a regular habit? Be honest. Often the problem isn't a lack of desire, but how we approach the task. We take this fantastic idea of exercise and chunk it into this big, overwhelming monster, a marathon we have to run every single day. And guess what? Our brains shut down. Chunking is about breaking things down into manageable pieces. It's about taking that monster and chopping it into bite-sized snacks our brains can actually handle. Imagine this. Instead of picturing an entire hour at the gym, what if you focused on just putting on your shoes and getting there? That's a tiny chunk, easy to handle, right? And guess what? Once you're there, you're much more likely to keep going. The idea of starting feels doable, and that's the magic of chunking. It breaks down those seemingly impossible tasks into pieces that fit into your reality. 3. The exercise excuse. The ever-popular "I don't have time" excuse for exercise. Sound familiar? We all get stuck there sometimes. But here's the thing. That excuse often stems from how we chunk the task. Think back to that workout example. If we focus on the entire hour slog, the picture we paint in our minds is pretty darn negative. It's no wonder we find reasons to avoid it. Chunking helps us rewrite that picture. Here's the key. We can chunk the exercise itself, but we also need to be mindful of how we chunk the lead-up to exercise. Instead of picturing the whole workout and feeling overwhelmed, what if we focused on just putting on our shoes and getting to the gym? That's a tiny, achievable chunk, right? And guess what? Studies show that once we start a task, we're more likely to see it through. So getting to the gym becomes the first win, and that momentum can propel us into the actual workout. Chunking is all about creating bite-sized pieces, but we have to make sure they're the right bites, the bites that get us moving in the right direction. 4. Overstuffed chunks. There's a twist to chunking, though. We can fall into the trap of over-chunking. Imagine focusing only on how sore you'll be after that workout. That's over-chunking, and it leads to negativity and avoidance. Our brains are wired to follow our focus. If we fixate on the discomfort, the pain, the feeling of failure, guess what? We'll find a million reasons to skip the gym altogether. Chunking is about creating bite-sized pieces, but we have to make sure they're the right bites. Bites that fuel motivation, not fear. Here's the trick. Focus on the positive outcome of that workout. Think about the energy boost you'll get, the feeling of accomplishment, the progress you'll be making towards your goals. Chunking is about creating manageable steps, but it's also about filling those steps with reasons to take them. Focus on the delicious reward waiting at the end of each chunk, and you'll find yourself taking those steps with a smile. 5. The process versus the prize. So we've talked about chunking tasks and the importance of focusing on positive outcomes. But here's the thing. When we over-chunk and focus solely on the process, we miss the whole point. Think back to that workout example again. Are you picturing yourself drenched in sweat, pushing through exhaustion, or are you visualizing the feeling of being strong and healthy? Our brains are wired to follow our focus. If we focus on the struggle, the pain, the feeling of just wanting to quit, guess what? We'll find a million reasons to avoid the gym altogether. Chunking is powerful, but it's not just about breaking things down. It's about making sure we're breaking them down in a way that fuels motivation and action. Focus on the struggle, and you'll dread the process. Focus on the feeling of being a champion after conquering that workout, and you'll be unstoppable. Chunking is about creating a clear path to the prize, not just a map of the obstacles along the way. 6. Motivation is the master key. All right, so how do we get motivated to chunk effectively? Here's the secret. It's not about ability, it's about motivation. Think about it. If someone threatened your family, you'd find the time to say, run a marathon, right? We all have the ability to do what we need to do. The key is finding a strong enough reason, a reason that gets you pumped and ready to take action. Change isn't about how much time you have, it's about how much you want something. Effective chunking is like setting a fire under your goals. It breaks them down into manageable steps, sure, but more importantly, it keeps the flame of motivation burning bright. When you chunk with a powerful why behind you, those bite-sized pieces become stepping stones to an incredible future. So, what's your why? What gets you excited to jump out of bed in the morning? Find that reason, use chunking to break down your goals towards achieving it, and watch your motivation soar. 7. Knowing what you want. Ever feel like you're spinning your wheels, getting nowhere fast? That often happens when we lack a clear direction. Effective time management, and by extension effective chunking, starts with knowing what you truly want. What are your goals? What kind of life do you want to create? Once you have that clear vision, chunking becomes a powerful tool to help you get there. Think of it like a roadmap. Imagine a vast, unfamiliar territory, your goals. Without a map, it's overwhelming and intimidating. But with a roadmap, that territory breaks down into manageable sections, clear roads, and specific destinations. Chunking is like creating your own personalized roadmap to success. It takes your big, hairy goals and breaks them down into smaller, achievable steps. Suddenly, that once distant destination feels attainable, and that's where motivation explodes. You see a clear path forward, and you're chomping at the bit to start taking those steps. 8. Chunking beats complexity. Remember that feeling of overwhelm we talked about earlier, staring down the barrel of a new exercise routine? Now think about how simple it is to just grab an apple and eat it. That's the power of chunking. It takes those big, scary tasks and breaks them down into small, easy wins. Suddenly, you're making progress, and that progress fuels motivation. It's a win-win. Here's the key. Complexity is the enemy of action. The more complex a task seems, the more likely we are to procrastinate or avoid it altogether. Chunking takes that complexity and throws it out the window. It breaks down that monster of a task into bite-sized snacks your brain can handle. Tiny, achievable steps you can conquer one at a time. And guess what happens? With each conquered chunk, you gain momentum and confidence. You see progress happening, and that's like rocket fuel for your motivation. Suddenly, that once daunting task feels manageable, even enjoyable. 9. Focus on what matters. Here's the bottom line. What you focus on determines your emotions and actions. Focus on the overwhelm of a giant to-do list, and you'll get paralyzed. Focus on the manageable chunk in front of you, putting on your gym shoes, for example, and you'll take action. Chunking is about training your brain to see opportunity, not obstacles. Think about it like a magnifying glass. When you hold it over a piece of paper and focus the sunlight on one spot, it creates a hot ember, right? That's the power of focused attention. Chunking helps you focus that magnifying glass on the specific task at hand, burning away the overwhelm and revealing the opportunity for progress. By focusing on the manageable chunk, you chip away at your goals bit by bit. And with each accomplishment, no matter how small, your brain releases a hit of dopamine, the feel-good chemical. This dopamine reward loop keeps you motivated and moving forward. Chunking takes that overwhelming mountain of tasks and breaks it down into a series of manageable climbs, each one releasing a burst of dopamine that fuels your journey to the top. 10. The power of your focus. So, my friends, it's time to take control of your focus. We've talked about chunking, breaking down tasks into manageable pieces, and focusing on the positive outcomes. Now let's put it all together. Imagine yourself staring at a cluttered desk. It's overwhelming, paralyzing. But what if you grabbed one small item at a time, focusing on putting it away? Suddenly, the desk feels less daunting, right? That's the power of chunking and focused attention. Use chunking to break down your goals into achievable pieces. Focus on the positive outcomes of each chunk, the sense of accomplishment, the progress you're making. This creates a powerful momentum that propels you forward. Remember, change is never a matter of ability, it's always a matter of motivation. Chunking is the key to unlocking that motivation, helping you see your goals not as distant dreams, but as a series of exciting steps waiting to be conquered. Take control of your focus, my friends. Embrace the power of chunking, and watch your life transform.